Could the Kansas City Chiefs sign veteran running back Latavius Murray before training camp? I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into the Chiefs Report. Bleacher Report has linked Murray to Kansas City, and I actually find this one pretty interesting here. Here's Alex K with the write-up saying, thus far, Kansas City has opted against bringing back fellow veteran Jerick McKinnon following his 3-year stint at Arrowhead. Without McKinnon in the mix, the Chiefs could use a steady hand behind starter Isiah Pacheco. Murray has now tallied at least 300 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground for 10 consecutive seasons. They may want to give Murray a call as they look to bolster their roster while chasing an unprecedented Super Bowl III-peat. And I definitely agree with the idea that this running back room, I love Pacheco. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league, not just running backs. I think his value last year when this passing game was in a bit of a funk with these receivers just being a mess was huge. But the rest of the room leaves a lot to be desired. I don't love this room, and I think in today's NFL, you know, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, who just got a nice contract, you need multiple guys. Like, even Pacheco, he could take a beating. He's not a 20, 25 touch per game type of guy, though. Like, 205 carries last year. What does that add up to? He played in 14 games, so probably, what is that, 13-ish carries per game right there. He's not going to catch the ball much. Very good player. Like, you find this guy in the 7th round. He's obviously been very, very valuable for this offense. But you re-sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is just not a very good player at all. I mean, he's, considering he was a first-round pick, he's definitely been a bust. Like, I get it. He fits the culture. They like him. 3.2 yards per carry, though. Like, he had his best year probably as a receiving back last year. Still didn't do a ton there, but that's when they drafted him, they thought he'd be dynamic as a pass catcher, and that never really developed. Last year, a better year in that regard, but he has clear limitations as a runner. He doesn't have a lot of burst. He doesn't break a lot of tackles. He's just not very explosive whatsoever. So if it's just those two guys and a bunch of question marks, and Clyde himself is very limited, I do think the idea of bringing in a veteran runner makes some sense. Latavius Murray could still play, man. I mean, his yards per carry, a little bit down last year. He's getting a little older, but like that stat of 300 yards or more and at least 4 touchdowns for a decade straight is impressive. And in a lot of these years, you're talking 500, 600, 700 yards. I mean, 2 years ago in 13 games, he had 760 yards. Like, this guy can still get it done between the tackles, and he's the type of guy who can give Pacheco some much-needed rest, especially throughout the course of the season, because they're going to hammer Pacheco in the postseason. Like, that's when his value ramps up. It's cold. It's windy. You got to grind out tough yards. That's when Pacheco has shown his worth in the past couple of years. Well, Murray can limit those hits taken on him throughout the course of the year and even give him the occasional blow throughout the postseason. Like, I actually think the fit makes a lot of sense. Clyde can just be your pass-catching back because he doesn't offer you much as a runner. So I'm very open to this idea. It's going to be a vet minimum type of deal. I think it could make sense for both sides. Should the Chiefs sign Latavius Murray? What do you guys think? Type S for sign or type P for pass? I would certainly like to see it happen. Now, a couple other free agent running backs just want to mention here. Cam Akers still out there. He was pretty good with the Rams a few years ago, still only 25 years old, so he's intriguing. Dalvin Cook is cooked. I'm not that intrigued there. Kareem Hunt, they're not going back down that well. Like, he's a decent player still, but I think that ship is clearly sailed. I'm still open to bringing back Jerick McKinnon. If they want someone in more of the pass-catching realm, that would certainly be the way to go, and he's an excellent blocker in the pass game too. Like, if you need extra protector on 3rd down, 3rd and long, he's really good at that. But if they're looking for that physical runner type to help spell Pacheco, then I do think Murray's the ideal answer there. If they want more of a scat back guy who's good on 3rd down, Jerick McKinnon would be the guy. So it really just comes down to the type of player that Andy Reid would want to add to this offensive room. But McKinnon or Murray, depending on role you want, I'd be open to both of those guys being Chiefs. Okay, how about signing Xavien Howard? Howard remains a free agent. After a disappointing season last year with Miami, he certainly didn't fall off a cliff. He just wasn't as good as he's been in recent years, the player that we've been accustomed to seeing on the outside. Still had 12 breakups at a pick. numbers pretty identical, basically identical to the season before. Just played in a couple less games, but his coverage stats weren't quite as good. Certainly a few years removed from that 10 interception season, even that 5 interception season back in 2021. But he's still serviceable. Like, if an average team signed him, you'd feel comfortable trotting him out as your number 2 outside guy. Like, is he going to be a lockdown guy? No, but probably get his hands on a couple of footballs, a couple picks, some breakups. Like, he's going to hold his own out there. Like, he's not going to be the reason your defense stinks at the end of the day. Now, the question for Kansas City, and I mentioned this yesterday, I believe, yesterday's episode when talking about Patrick Peterson, is where does Howard fit? Now, a couple of things. One, Howard is better than Patrick Peterson at this point in their careers. A little bit younger, too. So you got to bring that into account. But also, the question you would have to ask yourself if you're Brett Veach, if you're Steve Spagnuolo, Andy Reid, all the guys evaluating this stuff, is Xavien Howard a clear upgrade over Jaylen Watson or Joshua Williams? Because those are going to be 2 guys that start, along with obviously your stud, Trent McDuffie, and we'll see who's on the outside, who's at nickel. McDuffie's going to play some nickel, some outside. Sounds like he's going to play more outside this year with L'Jarius Sneed gone. But is Howard a clear upgrade over Watson or Williams? If the answer is no, then you don't need to sign him because, again, you don't need him to come in and be your CB4. If you're going to bring in a CB4, you need someone with special teams value, and Howard's not going to give you that. But if you think he's going to start and you want to push down Watson or Williams a peg, then yeah, I could see that scenario. If I had to guess, they would not sign Howard unless, one of these guys struggled in the preseason or training camp and he was still out there. We got a Chiefs hat and t-shirt combo available on sale for a limited time only. Go to chatsports.com/KCCombo. That is chatsports.com/KCCombo. Link will be in the comments and in the description. Get this hat and t-shirt combo today on sale. Let's talk a little punter competition, which is reportedly heating up. Dave Toub, special teams coordinator, talking about that last week, a little bit more this week as well. Here's what the Chiefs special teams coordinator had to say. He said, I'm going to tell you both, Matt Araiza and Ryan Rehkow, these guys are really good. Matt is a lefty, Ryan's a righty, and they're both excellent, and they're both NFL punters. I'm going to tell you it's a real close battle right now. We kick them as much as we can without wearing out their legs. We're practicing everything, the holds, the throws, who can throw better. We're trying to look at everything to evaluate it. The holds are important. Harrison Butker is going to be involved. I'm going to talk to him to see who he likes when it comes time. Because that's the thing. The punter's job is not just to punt the football. You got to hold on kick field goals and extra points. If certain coordinators like a guy who can throw a little bit for the occasional fake punt, and with this new kickoff rule, Dave Toub's already talked about it. They want to limit Harrison Butker taking hits. I know they've talked about Justin Reid and Luis Reese-Zammit as kickoff candidates, but maybe one of these punters would kick off too. Araiza kicked a lot in college. You look at the numbers too, their last collegiate season, obviously Araiza had the allegations that were dropped, so he hasn't punted the last couple of years, but all things equal, Araiza was a better punter in college. I don't think there's any question around that. His leg strength is top tier. Now, coffin corner punting was not the best. I think that's why, when the draft came in, a couple of guys actually got drafted ahead of him. People were surprised by that. But he could flat out launch the football. And he was a better collegiate punter than Rehkow. But that was 3 years ago. And Rehkow was a 4-year starter out of BYU, including this last season. So I do think it'll be a battle that goes into training camp and probably into the preseason, and eventually they'll have to settle on a guy. Who do you guys think will win the job? Type MA for Araiza, RR for Ryan Rehkow. It could come down to little things like who's Butker more comfortable with, because if one guy is 5% better as a punter, but he just cannot figure out the holding part of it, they're probably going to go with the other guy, if we're being completely honest at the end of the day. All right, there you have it. That's going to do it for today's Chiefs Report. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll continue to plug out videos on a daily basis, so don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll see you soon.